It's 4:03. We want to welcome everybody here today to our Candidates Forum. I'm Diana Cassidy on the Election Committee, and on behalf of the entire Election Committee, I want to welcome all of you. Just a little housekeeping chores before we get started. The ballots were mailed out yesterday on the 23rd. Your ballot's in an envelope marked with red lettering, Board of Directors Election Material, and the ballot is a light blue. And we're making them different colors so that we don't get them mixed up with the previous elections that we've had. There's a ballot box located in the lobby of the administration office, or you can mail it back to the P.O. box that is on your ballot. Please do not put your ballots in the drop-off box in the front. That makes it invalid. It's got to be in the ballot box or in the P.O. box. You'll be voting for 2 open positions out of 3 candidates. You can vote for 0, 1, or 2. If we get one that's got everybody marked, it's gone. You don't get to do that. Please remember to sign your ballot. There's several every year that we have to reject because they haven't been signed. And the ballots must be returned no later than Thursday the 26th at 5 p.m. So if it's Thursday the 26th and it's 4:45, don't go drop it off in the P.O. box. Okay, today's will go as follows. We've got the introduction of the candidates. We have Cheryl Manker, Bill Pease, Ileana Sukta. Thank you. I've been practicing. Each candidate will have 3 minutes for an introduction and any opening statements. We will then have questions from the audience. You'll line up against the wall over here, and you can direct your question to all of the candidates or one of the candidates. After the candidate you've directed it to answers, then the other 2 will get a chance to comment as well. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to answer the questions. At the end of today, each candidate will be given 3 more minutes for closing comments. And I'm going to turn it over to Pam Schmidt to be the moderator. Moderate this.
I'm going to hold the microphone. And I'm going to give y'all just a few more things that I'd like y'all to hear before we get started with everyone. So, and most of these you've heard me say before at other previous town halls, so you'll not be surprised by them. First, we want to ask that everybody silence your mobile devices. If you haven't done that already, please check them. We want to give everybody an opportunity to be heard, so each person can ask their questions. We want you to ask when you line up, you'll be, I hate to say the word allowed, but you're going to be allowed 1 question and then get back in line, because that will help us make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to ask their question. But you can just get back in line and it'll be fine. One thing we're not going to do is allow personal attacks. So if there's no attacking, just say no attacking. Against the candidates, against the committee members, against anyone, no attacking. If it's a problem, you might just have to take it outside. We do have security. I don't really expect trouble, but if we don't tell you these things and then we have to do something, then it's really not good. So I just as soon let y'all know ahead of time. Okay, next thing I'm going to say is we ask that you not talk amongst yourselves in the audience. We want to make sure we can hear their answers as well as the questions being asked. So we do ask that you hold your private conversations for another time. We ask that you not speak out of turn, so no hollering from the back of the room. If it's your turn to speak, come get in line. We'll allow you that time to speak. So please, no unruly manner, no disturbing, no disruption. Otherwise, we may ask you to leave. Microphones will be turned off if necessary, but again, we've not ever had to do that. I just want you to know the possibilities. We are going to start this portion of the forum now, and we're going to end it at 5:45. That leaves 15 minutes till 6, because this is 4 to 6. That'll leave each candidate 3 minutes to have any closing statements they want to have, and then we will adjourn the meeting. However, if the candidates are willing to hang out and you guys have other questions, you're welcome to do that after 6. Stay as long as you want to stay. You've already introduced everybody. So I think we're ready to start, right, with the introduction. So we'll start with Cheryl. Oh, one more thing. You can see the timer against the wall over there. So that's how we will know when it's time for them to stop. But Teresa Wagner is running the timing board. No, the microphone. Linda Tuck is running the timing board, and Mike Hunter is running the phone, the camera. So this will be on YouTube if you need to go back and look at it again, or if you know someone who couldn't come today and needs to watch what happened, they can go onto the YouTube channel and watch. So we will begin, Linda, if you're ready, with Cheryl Manker.
Hi there, good afternoon. I'm Cheryl Manker, M-A-N-K-E-R, running for the board at Holly Lake Ranch. I really do appreciate everyone showing up this afternoon. I realize you do have a choice on where you can be, and I'm glad that you all decided to make this a priority. I seek this position for a couple of reasons. One is to make certain that this beautiful community continues on in perpetuity. Is that at risk? Well, quite frankly, yes, and I'll get into this a little bit more later, but we're not meant to be ruled by 3 people. We are ruled under the Texas Private Property Protection Act, which states a provision in a dedicatory instrument, which is a governing document, that would disqualify a property owner from voting in a Property Owners Association election of Board of Directors, or any matter concerning the rights or responsibilities of the owner is void. Okay, if I am elected, I will seek to return your power to vote on the bylaws. We're not under a BOC, which is a business organization code, as some people would like for you to believe. We have rights under that. If you are on the deed, you have that right to vote. Secondly, there's been a lot of talk. I know all of us have opened up, streams to get questions via email and by the phone. I've gotten some comments. I was here at the meet and greet, obviously, about GAAP accounting, which is general accepted accounting practices. Whatever side that you're on, I've been told, explicitly that yes, we follow that, and I've been told no. I've looked at the budgets. My thing on this is transparency. If it's important to you, it will be important to me. So if you have a question about that, then I want to be accessible to you. I have a cell phone. I'm in business for myself. But if I'm elected, I will have a phone at my expense that I will have for you. You will all have my phone number. If you have a question about something, I want you to get in touch with me and let me know. I'm not going to play kick the can. You'll have my number. Text me, call me. You have my email address. I'll make sure everyone does. Thirdly, and probably most importantly, returning the power of the power to the deed holders. If you are on a deed, when you first signed up, you were compelled to become a member and to pay dues. Given that fact, you do have a right, husband and wife, mother and son on a deed, you have the right to vote, and I will see to it that that is returned.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm sorry.
That's
Time's
okay.
up, and we are going to move to the next speaker, Bill Pease.
All right, everybody hear me good. Okay, so I wanted to give you a bit of background, maybe a little louder. Good? Okay. Still on, huh? Okay, so first thing, I wanted to thank the election committee for setting this up, and I wanted to thank you guys for showing up. In my view, these board elections are critical. It is how you guys get your voice in and move the organization forward. It is not about a group of folks making all the decisions for you. It is in my mind, member-driven. And so I think these are critically important. Just a bit of background on me. I've been married to Anna for she didn't want me to call her out, but 43 years. We have 2 kids, 5 grandkids, and we were introduced to Holly back in the late 80s. My parents owned a timeshare over here, and so we got to come out here lots and lots of weekends and spend a lot of time and really understand what Holly was about. And so when I retired from IBM after 37 years, we bought a house out here, and we're now enjoying, what started with our kids at 5, we're doing with our grandkids now. They're also 5, so it's definitely generational for us, and we just love this place. So that is a critical thing to me, is maintaining what we have here, and I'll get into a little bit more beyond that. As a lot of you know, I've been on the Silverleaf Committee for about a year, a little over a year, and have had an opportunity to work towards us getting the common areas that I thought when I bought here we already owned. And so we'll have that, and that's about to close. But I see it as critically important that we do 2 things, that we integrate that into HLRA, and we've got to get it into the bylaws. We've got to take Holiday Inn out of the reference. So, some of that's just paperwork and documentation, but important and needs to finish. And then the second thing is we need to have a resort agreement that works for the ranch. We didn't really have one over there with the timeshares that was very good. Wasn't worth more than about $20,000 a year, but it really wasn't about the money, and it isn't about the money now. It's critical that the look and feel over there, if we can make that happen, looks like the look and feel over here. We don't own that land. We don't control it. So I think it's going to be important for the committee and the board to drive that forward and get the right kind of agreement with Mr. Ho over there so that we can enjoy driving down Holly Trail East, and it looks like we would want it to look, okay? So I think that's critical. Second, I would say that, for me, I'm a, longtime corporate guy, and you got to have a strategic plan. You got to know where you're going. So you got to put that together. We do have a 2030 plan that's been put together. I think, there's probably some expansion on that that's got to get done, and that's critical. I'll come back to that. Improving communication with the members is also a focus item for me. And then bottom-up budget, right? It's not last year plus some.
You just barely got that
Good.
in. Okay. Our next speaker is Ileana.
Okay, my name is Ileana Sukta, and my husband and John and I have lived here for almost 10 years in Section 4. And we have enjoyed Holly Lake, and it's really the best decision we've ever made in the last since 2015. We absolutely love our community, our neighbors. We absolutely love it here. I'm very involved in the community. I coordinate the club fairs now. I secured and organized the commitment for 2869 to do the Adopt a Highway project led by the Kayak Club with many wonderful volunteers. Thank y'all for always coming out. I assist with Kiwanis events, golf tournaments. I co-lead the Kayak Club and the Disc Golf Club. So I'm very passionate about Holly Lake. I'm very involved in Holly Lake, and I'm very committed to our community. Those activities drew my heart to serve in a greater capacity, and therefore I'm running for the board. I would like to bring more and improved communication to the members, why we do things, why we don't do things. I feel that by knowing the why, it can be better understood and accepted. No one wants to hear a no, but if you have a reason for the no, it's usually easier to accept, to take. It's not as hard of a pill to swallow. So as some of you know, I may have any of you've seen, I am running for the board using pink ribbons on mailboxes instead of signs. And a little history behind the reason I use the color pink. I retired after over 31 years at Mary Kay, and the color was very, very important to Mary Kay, so it was important to me. It was instilled in me from my early 20s. Also, the reason for the ribbons is that signs were costly, they clutter the neighborhoods, and they hinder our lawn service guys, and they're hard to get in the ground, folks. So I chose not to spend that money on signs and only end up in landfills in a month. So I asked my supporters that wanted to donate to my campaign instead to put their money to better use by donating it to a charity of their choice. As we all know, that these organizations can really use the money and the donations. I'm a very frugal person. I'm not cheap, but I'm deliberate on the way my money is spent. And if elected, I will use those same guidelines to see that there are no corners cut, there's balanced spending, and to make sure that we are getting the biggest bang for our buck. I will represent all members, because we have to remember we are one community. We are Holly Lake. Thank you for your questions and attending the forum and your consideration as candidate of Board of Director for Holly Lake. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, that was a great introduction, and so now we're ready to start taking questions. I'm going to ask that you come this way. You'll be on camera, and that way you can face the candidates, and we won't be blocking anybody else's view of the candidates as they answer questions. So, who wants to be our first? Who wants to ask the first question? Are there no questions? Come on over. There we go. All right, now we're going. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to give your name and your section number, and yes, I will keep control of the microphone.
Very well. All right, my name is Noble Adams. I'm in Section 6. Just got here a week ago. Love the area. Thank you. I figured since no one wanted to jump up and ask a question, I can embarrass myself first. That's fine. I'm very excited to see candidates going for the board of directors. It's something that a lot of communities don't do, and it gives me solace that this community is trying to grow forward. So my question to the candidates are, what are some of the long-term plans that you do see? I know that there is a deal going through, we're getting the common areas back, but what are some of the other pain points that aren't so relative or aren't so predominant right now that will be addressed in the future?
Okay, we're going to start with Cheryl. Yes,
Okay.
we're going to start with Cheryl, and they'll get 2 minutes to answer the question.
Okay. Welcome, Noble. Glad you're here. One of the things, other than what we're doing with Holly Lake Ranch, is, as I was mentioning, adhering to the Texas Private Property Protection Act, which returns the vote back to you, the property owner, to give you the say-so, so we're not ruled by just 3 people. So and I'm not saying that the board is bad, I'm just saying that if we're going to continue in perpetuity, it's important to adhere to the rules that are in place, that are already in place. We don't want things to just happen willy-nilly, just looking at if somebody is passionate, let's say a couple of people on the board are very passionate about table tennis, and all of a sudden, there's a $500,000 table tennis building here, and things like that have happened in the past, where money has been allocated without approval, and then the rule was amended after that. So adhering to those rules will make sure that this continues on as the great community that it is.
Okay, so, I mentioned the strategic plan. In my mind, if you have a plan, then everything you do going forward, any priorities that come up, any issues that come up, et cetera, you can kind of hold those up against that plan and say, does that meet what the collective community decided was the priorities going forward, right? So we can measure it against it. And I just think that keeps you from ping-ponging to this issue or that issue. But in terms of a specific, I think that there's probably an opportunity, not probably, I think there is an opportunity to modernize some things, like maybe some of the back office things, do some things a bit more efficient, combine some, whether it's software or processes, and look for a way to move from manual to automated as a way to save some money, that kind of thing. As much as we want the community, and I want the community to have the same look and feel going forward, I think it's also important to make sure that the amenities match what folks are looking for at the time. My best example I can come up with is, 20, 30 years ago, pickleball wasn't a big thing, but now it is. And 10 years from now, there will be something else. There'll be something else driving it. And I think if we want our property values to continue to go up and have this be a place that we could actually sell our home, should we so choose, we'd people, you want it to be desirable. And so I think you kind of got to keep up with the times. But I think you got to balance that with how do I keep the look and feel of what we have out here that we do enjoy. And I think that's hard, but that's what I think.
I think it's communication. We need to enhance our communication with the members. We need to get their feedback, what their needs are, not just what their wants are, and try to do that across the board for everyone so that everyone feels welcome, everyone feels at home, and everyone wants to be part of the community. We need to bring more, what's the word I want to use? We need to have more people involved. We need to have more people wanting to participate. And so I think by communicating with them, letting them know that what we're doing and why we're doing it, so that they want to be a part of it, let their voices be heard. But again, it's about the needs of the community, the upkeep of the community, like Bill says, to make sure that our properties stay desirable so that if and when we do have to leave, that someone else wants to come in and take it. Thank you.
All right. Hi, Michelle.
Michelle Tolucci, I live in Section 8, and my question is for Cheryl, because I was a little bit confused by something you said earlier, the comment of dues versus deed. Your comment about dues versus deed. When we buy here, we pay dues, we pay one. And it sounded like you're saying if your name's on the deed, you should get an individual vote.
That's not what I'm saying.
Okay.
That's what the Texas Private Property Protection Act says. As far as if you are, just as an example, okay, so under the BOC, which is what the previous boards have operated under, being a member is not compulsory, nor is paying dues, okay? So if I were to go to a church and sit in the pews, I'm not compelled to become a member. I'm not compelled to pay dues. So I'm not going to be surprised when someone doesn't ask me to vote on the bylaws. Does that make sense? So when we come out here, it is compulsory. When you sign up to live at Holly Lake, you're a member. So if me and my husband are on a deed and we're also compelled to pay dues, then we should have that right. We should have the right to vote two people. It's not any different than the rules of the elections in the United States. I mean, every citizen has the right to vote pursuant to the laws that govern us, right? So the same thing here. And again, that is what it says in Section 209 of the Texas Private Property Protection Act. So yes, giving the vote to the people to vote on the bylaws and giving the vote is very important.
So I guess where I'm confused, so there are probably a lot of people out here who they buy here, put their kids on the deed for heirship possibilities. So are you saying that two people who live here get the vote, plus their kids who live in Dallas who happen to be on the deed should also get a vote?
Right, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that's what the law says. And I would be curious to see how many times that has occurred. How many people are on the deeds. And again, they don't have to vote. It's just like they said in the beginning. You can have 0, you can have 1, you can have 2.
Thanks, Michelle.
Yeah, I just wanted to make one comment. Can I?
Okay, yeah, we can.
Okay.
Are you ready? Yes. Okay, Bill?
Okay. So my only comment on that is that I believe the members do get a vote. If you look at our bylaws, the members can vote to change the bylaws. It's in there. And so, I mean, I don't agree necessarily that the members don't have the ability to change things. So the board does have the ability to change, in my mind, the bylaws. That's my read on it. But I think the members also have that opportunity, and it's in our bylaws, in the document, and I have it. But anyway. Okay.
Then we're going to move to the next question.
Robin Edwards, Section 4. can I ask one for clarification? Can I ask one question for clarification and then my question? Okay. Ms. Manker, on two different occasions today, you've mentioned that the board should be, or that we should be directed or controlled by 3 people. How many people are on our board? Okay, so why twice now have you? Okay, I understand it. Okay, so now I'm familiar with Bill and I'm familiar with Adriana. I'm not familiar with you. I apologize for that. How long have you been out here and what have you done to involve yourself in the community so far? And I'll leave it.
Okay, great question. Yes, sir. I have been out here, my husband and I, since 2008. I am not fortunate enough at this point in time to be retired. So I've worked here when we moved here originally, I was the sales director for Silverleaf Resorts here at Holly Lake. I was here from 08 to 12, and then I moved on to the Villages. I served at that capacity for many, many years, and then I got out of that at COVID time, got out of that industry. As far as involvement here, I've been working. My head's been down, working. During COVID, I did read over some things that kind of opened my eyes a little bit and decided to get involved. So yes, we're longtime residents and we intend to make this our forever home. Thank you.
Okay.
Belinda Flowers, Section 8.
Well, it was kind of personal toward Cheryl to give her background, so yeah. Okay. Okay.
Hi, Belinda Flowers, Section 8. This one's for Cheryl and just Cheryl because of your comments just a minute ago. Kind of goes back to what Michelle was talking about. She mentioned husband, wife, and kids owning a property. Are you aware that there are properties out here that are owned by corporations? And I'm just wondering how, under your theory there, how would all the corporate board members be able to vote, or how would you sort that out? Thank you.
I'm sorry.
No
What-
comments from the audience,
Okay.
please. Thank you.
Again, I would love to know how many are and how that would affect. It has always been, and this could be, I'm going to do a little bit more research, but it's always been my understanding that a corporation is not a living person, so therefore they would have to change that. But I don't know. Okay, well, and so finding out how many, and that's fine because again, not my rule. That is what it says. So it's not my opinion. We have that.
Belinda.
Exactly, having people having the right and not having to, and as far as voting on bylaws and things like that, a bylaw does not override a restriction. So, I mean, there's been several things that has been done by the board that has not been the will of the people, and I can give several examples of that. But yes, I would love to do a little bit more research to find out how that would impact voting. I do have a list of how many people vote. I would love to see more people voting. That's for sure. I would love to see that.
Thank you. Let's let this get reset. Okay, now we're ready. Hi, Dwayne.
Hi, Pam. My name's Dwayne Dunk, and I live in Section 7. And my question is for the candidates. How many of you are aware that the Finance Committee, a group of volunteers, all with qualified backgrounds appointed by the board, review the financial statements and that there's annual audits by an independent third-party CPA firm, and that CPA firm, year after year, this year included, has declared that all of our financial statements are in compliance with generally accepted accounting principles as protracted by FASB, the Financial Accounting Standards Board. And by the way, I am a CPA here licensed in the state of Texas, and I chair the Finance Committee.
So, we're going to start this time with Bill because we usually start with Cheryl. We're going to start with Bill.
Happy to. Hey, Dwayne. I am aware that the Finance Committee meets monthly, and I'm aware of, at least at a high level, what that process entails to make sure things are recorded. I have read the recent accounting audit that states that we're following, GAAP principles at this point. So I'm not aware of any issues, in that area. Certainly none that Henry and Myers found.
Kellyanne, did you want to respond? We'll reset.
Yes, I'm aware of that. I would have maybe some.
Sure about the situation.
No, sir. What I said is that I've gotten feedback on both sides. I've had people stand in front of me and say, 100% we're adhering to that. And then I've also heard people say, well, there was a time where the expenditures for golf carts was not put under the proper heading, and it was moved down to other. And it is my understanding that under generally accepted accounting practices, that you are supposed to keep everything contained to the department in which it comes from. And again, my point on that, sir, is that transparency is very important. It's very important. So leading into that, if it is important to the people that I serve, then it is important to me. And I'm not here to diminish anything that an accounting firm has done. That is a question, and it's a question that's on a few people's minds. The word that comes to mind is materiality, which means that if something causes someone to have how an omission or a misstatement could impact decision-making, yeah, so that's the thing that comes to mind. I'm not in any way diminishing the work that you do or the work of the other people. I'm saying that if things are important to the people that have contacted me and going forward, whomever that would be, it's important to me to find out the answers.
My concern is when you make a statement in front of a public gathering that suggests that it's uncertain as to whether GAP's being followed, it's provocative and it's misleading to the group if you know differently. Similarly, there's never been a $500,000 table tennis building ever show up.
I didn't say that. I use that as an
Let me
example
finish,
of
please.
something that could happen.
Let me finish, please.
Uh-huh.
And I can assure you there'll never be a $500,000 anything show up out here that people don't know about, because our bylaws require a vote of the members above a certain dollar figure that's below $500,000. That's all.
Okay, so do
Thank
I
you,
have an
Dwayne.
opportunity to respond?
Can you reset this, Kelly? Okay, Ms. Maker, you want to respond?
Yes. The thing that comes to mind on that is the greens fees. It was written in, if I'm understanding this correctly, and I believe I am, that it was $150,000 that we could do. So we made a contract for $235,000 without a vote, without anything, and then the rule was made after the fact of $250,000. So that's where I'm coming up with that. So I am, like I said, I'm not trying to be provocative. In fact, I did say that I'm in no way diminishing what the work is, but here's the thing. Transparency is the key. Being in touch with the people that I serve is very important. And, you know, if there's only a small portion of the people who are involved in that, you know, things can happen. And as far as the 500,000, I was using an example that it could happen. There's nothing stopping it because that's the way that it's set up. So.
Okay, we're on to our next question as soon as the timer's ready. Okay.
I'm Andy Springer, Section 4. I've been in this right to vote deal for about 10 years, and it's not good. But your question about what if Ozarka owned a lot out here? They would vote one person to vote. If you've got 75 people living in a house and there's 2 of them on the deed, those 2 have the right to vote. Now, we don't always get the right to vote because it's 1 per household. And I don't think you'll ever find that in the law where it says 1 house, 1 vote. So if it was Ozarka, for an example, they would elect the person.
We need you to ask a question. What is your question?
Are you aware of that?
Okay, Ileana, did you want to respond to that? Back to Ms. Maker.
Thank you for that. So that saves me a little bit of work. So there you go. Thank you.
Bill? No response. Okay, our next question.
I'm Larry Bowman, Section 4. First of all, a statement, and then I'm going to ask the question. Currently, every household out here has 1 vote. So I have a piece of property, I get one vote. My neighbor next door is a widow or a widower, they get one vote. If you go the other way, that means a husband and wife gets 2 votes. If I own a partnership, which I do with 5 partners, then my 5 partners get a vote. If you want to keep it fair, you're going to have 1 vote per property. And my question to the board is, how do you feel about the current situation, 1 for 1, that everybody's equal? I'd like a response from each.
Thank you. And we'll start with Ileana.
Well, I'm one that has 3 on the deed, my husband, my son, and I. And I understand that they're saying 1 vote for every person on the deed, but then on the flip side, like Mr. Bowman said, I would get 3 votes and he would only get 1. And I'm not sure that that's totally fair. So without looking into all these laws that Cheryl has looked into, I think it's fair 1 deed, 1 vote, one property, because of the fact that for him to have 1 vote and I have 3, because I have 3 people in my home, it just kind of feels not even.
Thank you. Ms. Maker, do you want to respond? Wait, yep, we're ready.
First of all, by the amount of applause after Mr. Bowman's statement, I'm a little shocked that more of you are not concerned that you don't have that right. And here's the thing. I mean, when I was in college, I was just talking about this the other day. When I was in college 100 years ago, I had a professor that was from my hometown of Kilgore. She was an avowed Democrat, and her husband was an avowed Republican. And she would walk into the classroom every time an election came up and go, well, I just X'd out Jim's vote. So, I mean, does that extend in the public elections? I mean, if I have 1 son and someone else has 6 kids, that those people, I mean, y'all, it is completely up to y'all, completely. If that's something that you feel strongly about, I would urge you to do just a little bit more research. And I'm here if you have any questions. My email and my phone number is posted on the Facebook website, or I'll be happy to give it to you again if you're not on Facebook or whatever. Thanks.
Okay, Bill?
So I'm good with the way it sits today for a lot of the reasons that have been talked about. I think, if I want to create more power in the organization or dilute somebody else's vote, I go in and add a bunch of folks to my deed. And so I'm not sure that works for me. I don't know that that is right. My read, at least to date, on the Articles of Incorporation and the existing bylaws, it looks to me like, we're set up member-driven. If you're a member, there's 1 member per lot purchase, ownership. It could be multiple lots, but 1 membership gets 1 vote, and I'm good with that. I haven't seen anything that is counter to that. And this is a topic I looked at. It's not a topic that I'm done with, And so if there's Texas law that says this or that, I'm happy to read it. But I think we're good where we are. Okay.
All right, we have another question right here.
I'm Rebecca Ennis. I live in Section 9. I would like to ask you to please address your thinking regarding what you would do in the future with the common properties.
Okay, and I think we're back to Ms. Maker to start.